of the unknowns of life is how you will respond when you see someone famous. Now, whether it's a movie star, musician, author, or influencer, we'd like to think that we'd play it cool and treat them like a regular person. But my guess is that we'd more than likely get a bit starstruck and not know what to say. Almost as if the fame of the individual means that we're not worthy to be in their presence. On Monday, we thought about Paul's example of pleasing God rather than pleasing man. On Wednesday, we considered the apostles' determination to make sure that there were no barriers that stopped the Thessalonians from hearing and responding to the gospel of Jesus. Today, we'll think about the example that Paul set for the church and how that example inspired the Thessalonians to live lives worthy of God. 1 Thessalonians 2 verse 10. You are witnesses, and so is God, of how devoutly, righteously, and blamelessly we conducted ourselves with you believers. Does that seem like a bold statement to you? Can you say that the example of faith that you set in your life is one of devotion, righteousness, and blamelessness when it comes to your fellow believers? If not, why not? I don't imagine for a second that the Apostle Paul is claiming to be perfect because he goes to great lengths in his letters to show us how and why we are saved. Saved by grace and not by our good works. However, that doesn't mean that we should not live lives that are devout or righteous or blameless. We're not perfect, but we can still live godly lives that are an example for believers to follow and unbelievers to admire. That's how Paul lived when he was with the Thessalonians. And they are witnesses to this truth. Perhaps you can ask yourself, is there something I need to change about my life in order to enable me to live a godlier life? Paul continues, 1 Thessalonians 2 verse 11. As you know, like a father with his own children, we encouraged, comforted, and implored each one of you to walk worthy of God, who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. I like the image of a father caring for his children. I imagine that we've either experienced that in our own lives, or if our relationship with our Father was not positive, then perhaps we can picture the relationship we have with God the Father. And it's that image that Paul draws upon to remind the Thessalonians that he and his companions loved them in the same way that a father loves his children. And yet, as we've already seen, the love that Paul had for the Thessalonians was not simply a spoken love, but it was an active love, lived out and experienced among the believers. He and his companions expressed love in the way they encouraged the Thessalonians to stand firm in faith. They showed love in the way they comforted the Thessalonians in the midst of trials. And they displayed love for them when they implored the Thessalonians to work hard at living godly lives. We're all called to live lives worthy of the name of Jesus, in whom we have been saved and in whom we follow. But notice that the determination to live a godly life comes in response to what God has done for us in Jesus. See, Paul says that God has called us into his own kingdom and own glory. Okay, and so what that means is that we are brought into that which is most central to God, namely his glory and his kingdom. We belong to God because of Jesus. We are part of God's eternity because of Jesus. It is because of this wonderful reality that we desire to live lives that are worthy of Jesus. And so friends, with all of that in mind, why don't you take a couple of minutes to pray. Pray and thank God for bringing you into his kingdom. And then ask him to help you to live in a way that brings him glory, a way that is worthy of belonging to Christ.